Go ahead with roll call.
Mike Dolson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Jennifer Finley, Jim Molitor, Carol Langford, Danielle Matt, here, being Matt, James Steele Jr., Martin Charlo,
Present.
Len Two-Teeth, and Lenny Strahan.
Carol, would you give us a prayer this morning? Appreciate that.
Yeah, we just ask for grace, and we just give thanks for the clean air and the water and the trees and our mother. We just give thanks for all of that today. And we also ask for prayers for individuals who have lost their lives. And we just ask you to be with all the families who have recently lost loved ones on the reservation here and elsewhere. And we just give thanks for their lives and their contributions. And we also give prayer to our elders and our children, and we ask you keep them safe and strong. And we also pray for our guests today, that they may travel to and from their locations safely, and watch over their families also. Komiate.
Thank you, Carol. We have minutes from September 4th. Take a quick look at them, please. Motion by Jimmy to accept the September 4th minutes, second by Tom. All in favor?
I
ahead.
abstain.
We have 2, 4, 6, 4, and 2 will abstain. That's Jennifer and myself will abstain. We have an agenda for today. We have, I believe, 5 walk-ins so far. Council have anything for the agenda today? Carol? Okay. Got a motion by Tom to approve the agenda. Second by Mark. Okay. All in favor? We're unanimous on the agenda. Jordan, are you a walk-in this morning? Well, let's have the greeting for Headwaters. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. We just want to offer gratitude for, first off, you hosted us yesterday for our board retreat, and we have the Headwaters entire board and staff with us today and yesterday, and just wanted to first begin with the gratitude for your time and the space and the continued partnership. And wanted a chance to introduce a few of our board members who joined us today.
I'm Kelly Rishka, the board chair, and thank you again so much for your beautiful space and for sharing this place with us. It's very special, and thank you for your partnership.
Good to see everybody. Jason Smith, I'm the vice chair of the Headwaters. Hope you have a good day, and thank you.
And Good morning. Kasquex, Kasuk Nam. You guys know me, but I did want to make sure y'all knew our CEO, Carly Hare. She joined us earlier this year and has been just a wonderful addition and leader for our group. And then as you can see, the rest of the gang back there, we've got board members and staff. And so we had a lovely first day of our retreat here yesterday, and we're heading over to SKC here in a bit for the second day of the retreat. But I think we're talking about some great things and some good future stuff. So just think we wanted to say hi.
Anything from the council? I know we sure appreciate the partnership with Headwaters.
If the board wants to come up and just say hi, that would be great.
Got a traveling mic.
I'm Jeannie Tuig from Missoula. Thank you so much for having us and for our partnership.
Thank you for having us. I'm Carissa Cool. I'm from Superior.
Hi, I'm Rachel Hafdoria. I live in Missoula, and thank you for having us here.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Robert Phillips from Missoula, and it's a pleasure to be here. And we very much value our relationship with you and the partnerships that we've put together over the years.
Anything from council? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, everybody. So great to have you here. I remember when the hospital sold and creation of this foundation was set up, and what a wonderful idea. What a wonderful idea to give back to the residents of Western Montana, in particular our indigenous people of our homelands here. So we deeply appreciate the relationship, partnership that we've had with Headwaters, and appreciate, the different folks that have served. I want to compliment you on your service, your dedication to the people and the health of our communities. It's just wonderful. So I wish you the best success in your retreat. Come up with outstanding ideas and creative ways to even do a better job, if that's possible. Really hope so. But thank you for your service and welcome.
Anybody else on council? Well, I hope you had a good meeting yesterday, and as Tom said, welcome and enjoy your stay. We have Arlene available. Thank you. Is Arlene here? I don't see Arlene. Is Arlene here? Okay. Roger? Come on up. Good morning, Roger. Yeah. If you'll turn on the microphone, please.
I came in a few months ago or whatever to have lands, figure out my land things so I could start building a house. And last week I got a letter from them saying I have 30 days. They're giving me a 30-day notice that they're selling the house that I'm living in now. Which, I'm trying to build a house and I've been waiting 4 years for them to do this lands deed so I could build a house. So now that I came and had you guys, said something to you guys, they hurry up and got their shit done. And now they're telling me they're going to sell the house. Then I'm still trying to build a house. So I don't know why they're trying to sell the house from under me while I'm living there.
Carol?
Well, the left is not talking to the right. First of all, I remember you coming in and asking for this, and they should know. I don't know why they would do this. It really puts families in a real bad,
there's 7 of us.
awful feeling. To think that now, okay, we're planning all this stuff, and I know how you and Cammie are, Roger. So I just think there is no reason why it should be on the list.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think a
I don't know,
lot-
they came and said they were doing an appraisal and
I don't
I didn't
think
understand.
the home should have really been on the list, to tell you the truth, but it was a council action, but I think they should have known that you were working to build a home.
Yeah,
And so I think we need to call them down here. Are they in the room?
no.
Jason?
Oh, I just wanted to mention that, yeah, thank you for the time this morning. Just here to support my nephew Raj. You know, he's been walking a good road for a lot of years here and doing a lot of good things. And he's got his young family moving forward and, you know, trying to stay active and take care of his kids and, you know, bring things together. And so, you know, been walking alongside him through this journey. We've had quite a journey through the lands department the last couple of years, just getting to this point and finally getting his, you know, gift deed land from his mom in his name just a month or so ago. Well, I don't know if he
Yeah.
got papers yet.
I finally got the
When they
paper.
got papers.
A couple days later, I
Yeah.
got a letter.
So that process has taken some time. My involvement has been, you know, I've been trying to help Raj and Cami get ready for this transition into home ownership. And we met here a month or so ago and sat down and we created a list of, you know, items that need to be checked off and issues that need to be addressed as we move towards home ownership. Any of you that have built a home, you know, on your own lands especially, know that that process takes time. And one of the first things that we encountered is, you know, the water and wastewater systems with the tribe is there's no longer any funding available. And so he got pre-approval already for a loan, and then to find out that that's going to be an additional cost. And so we're taking square footage away from the possible size of the home because of, you know, that additional cost. And so, you know, those are things that we're working on, but again, it's a process, you know. One of the things we talked about was a contractor. He has engaged with a contractor. They've went up and they're looking at the site and they're starting to put together a bid for Raj to let him know, you know, what kind of costs we're looking at. We're in a market right now, you know, housing market where costs are coming down for homes that are existing on market. But I was talking to a realtor just the other day on this issue here locally. And the cost of construction, you know, we're about $225 a square foot right now. And so that really limits this family in regards to how much money they can afford to build the square footage they need. Like Raj said, there's 7 of them in the home. And so we're working on these things, but you know, to get a notice just thrown at you 30 days to do something when he's got kids in school, activities going, you know, we are working on this, but it's going to take some time. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents into this and let you know that, you know, he's not alone in this walk. We're helping, you know, and my good friend Bob was with us too in this walk. You know, unfortunately we lost him, but he was a part of this team working with this family.
Roger, did you talk to Lands after you got the notice?
No, I didn't. I can't ever get a straight answer from them guys ever. So I quit going over there. I got nothing for 4 years until I came and saw you guys. And they were sitting back here listening.
And the first thing they're going to say is the letter says right on it, this is at council's direction.
Yeah, council approved. So that's why I came to council.
Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Roger, Jason. Yeah, just knowing the situation, how long you've been waiting, you would hope that they would have had some discretion and understanding about where your situation is. And I think we even talked about trying to get you in a better situation financially. So maybe, you know, some kind of a rent adjustment or something. And I just wish they communicated better. And
I actually asked them to come and fix my kitchen light in November. Still haven't seen them. Said something last time I came to see you guys. They said, oh yeah, we'll come replace that light. Still haven't seen them.
Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Roger, I'm sorry about the confusion. That certainly wasn't the intent of council.
Yeah.
And I agree with Carol and Martin to know that you're on a path for home ownership and you're already paying what I would consider fair market rent for the house you're in. And you've been a good tenant. And we know there's this future is there for you and your family. Why would we put you out of that house prematurely?
Yeah.
The house should not have been put on the market until you were ready to vacate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way that common sense transaction should have happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we're at fault. We're doing this,
Yeah.
but if we can take action today to correct that, it
Yeah.
certainly would.
And
Wanna
this
make
is the
that
only
happen.
way I get a straight answer out of Lance. Or they'll give me the runaround and I get nothing for months, years. And I put $40,000 into renting that house already, waiting for them to, give me my land so I can build my own house.
Well, on top of the rent he's paid, he's fixed the house up at his own cost. I mean, you should see the pictures of when he moved in and what him and his dad did to fix the house up to the condition that made it livable for them to live in. You know, I have personal experience with my daughter bought a tribal house, and it was in very disrepair, neglected for essentially 10 years. And it's kind of the same way with this house. So, she bought that as is and we fixed it up. She's living in it today. It's kind of a similar situation with Raj. He had to go in and make the house livable. And they did an inspection here recently and there's mold in that house. He doesn't want to buy the house. They offered that in the letter.
Right, yeah.
That's not an option. He
Because he's
wants to
gonna build.
exercise.
Well, brand new. Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would make the motion unless there's something that's been codified that we can't legally binding, we can't get out of, that we would allow Roger and his family to stay in this home and be put on the market after he's ready. His notice has been given that he's going to vacate into his new home.
Okay.
Got a motion by Tom and a second actually by Martin to keep Roger and his family in the house until he's ready to vacate. All in favor? Unanimous. We'll
I'm not-
definitely get a hold of, I guess, Tony, you've heard that.
No, I just got on. I missed most of the conversation trying to get on, so sorry.
I'll catch you up.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger.
Oh,
Brad, come on up. Good morning. If you'd turn on the microphone, please. There you go.
Good morning. Come here to get a improvement for loan. Two Teeth was told me to get everything going on my what I want to get going is fun park, like slides and all that. So I'm gonna put it by the casino, the new one. There's land there, and I went and got that land there. I'm gonna put that the slides right by the new casino. And he told me to come down, and the guy over here that giving out small business loans told me to come and get a letter from you guys that Steel or Two Teeth said he was gonna help me out. Go ahead, go get everything going, and we'll help you out. And I see he ain't here today.
Yeah, he's on travel for council today. He's on travel for council today.
But I'm sure you guys can step up. You guys are councilmen.
I'm just wondering if you have anything to show us what your fun park will be? Do you have any designs made yet?
No, that's what I'm going through right now. See, I want to get architect, but I can't get no architect now because I want to get the slides and everything. I want to get the right guys to give me the right ones. So that's why I come over here to help or ask you guys to give me a hand to call over to the small business loan place, or give me a letter, he said, that saying you guys are going to help me. And Two Teeth did say he was gonna help me. So, you know, that's I come here today to
Right.
get a letter saying that you guys are behind me.
We just have to figure out what it is exactly you need. Tom?
All our money that's in the bank, that $178 billion, I take some of that out of there and build me a park.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I remember when we acquired that property where the casino was being built, and first thing I thought, because we didn't know we were going to build a casino there, was, man, I should put in a water slide there. You know, be a great spot for a water slide, like the Columbia Falls water slide, or
Yeah,
something of that nature. And what a good investment that would be. I remember Columbia Falls water slide paid itself off in 3 years.
Yeah.
After it was built. I'm not sure exactly the footprint of SK Gaming and what their lease is on that property.
I already went and seen them and got that land. You know, that's the first thing you do is get the place to set it up. And I
So-
went to where you get the property. And I
Land
got
support.
that holded on me. I told him I wanted that land right there, and I'm gonna try to buy it. When I get money, I'm just gonna buy it and put it in trust. That way, it's, you know, it'll always be there when
So it's
under
fee,
the
it's
tribe.
fee property you want to buy.
Huh?
It's fee property that you want to buy?
Yeah,
Fee property. Oh, okay. I'm not exactly sure.
it's right beside the casino, the new casino,
Is it to the north of the new casino?
south.
To the south of the
If
new.
you go north, you're gonna get on the highway.
Yeah.
But I wanna just
All right,
on
northwest.
south of the casino.
The KOA Park or whatever that is?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's gonna be a good place for
So you'll be on the other side, the south of the KOA Park? Is that what you're talking about?
right where the casino's at.
Right?
Okay, where that fence is, right on the other side. I already went to lands and got that. And when I want to start, I want to get that on trust, so it'll be, you know, under tribe, you know. And that way I could start, you know, getting everything going. And
Have you worked with James Bible?
I went and seen him, talked to him on the phone, and he told me to come down here and get you guys to get a letter saying you guys are gonna back me up. I wish Jim Steele was here. You know, it takes one man to do it all, you know. Wish he was here to.
Anything
But I'm
else?
asking all you guys right here, if you guys could give me a letter to bring up there today and show them.
So we have to identify the property you're talking about to start with, and you make a transition to you with that property and realize that that's available. And definitely, it sounds like council will support you moving forward with some sort of project on the place. But we have to identify that, and we don't know exactly what to put in the letter right at the moment. That's what we'll have to figure out. So we will do something. Any other remarks? So I got to do a little discovery for you, Brad.
Okay.
And then I'll also talk to Len and to James.
James, yeah.
And so we'll figure out what it is you actually need, and we'll see if we can get that done.
All right, sounds good. And then another thing too, when we start you know, when we get new councilmen, I want to get a thing to where somebody's there to have the right, a cop or anybody, I don't care who it is, but somebody that's, you know, that's there and makes sure it's fair. Nothing going in, nothing going out. I want all the ballots all stay in that thing till it's a cop's there to open it up.
That's required by our rules. It is. Carol?
Have you thought about becoming a judge?
Councilman,
No,
that's what I was.
No, but why don't you become a judge? You could watch the process.
Well,
They pay.
I'm not into putting my friends in jail.
No, I mean, I'm just suggesting that you be a judge in the process, that's all.
I know, but still, I'm not there to put anybody in jail. I'm not there to hurt anybody. And
The election judge, the election process has judges.
okay.
And that's what I'm suggesting that you be a part of, not over there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Well,
they do,
see,
and they do exactly what you just said you want it done. That's what the election judge does.
yeah,
So,
I got one that my granddaughter's gonna come back from California. She's gonna help me out. She's a very smart girl. She's gonna come and help me out. And she told me whenever I get everything done here, to let her know, and I'll go over and I'll get her from California and bring her home, and then that's what we're gonna start out with, is me and my daughter-in-law are gonna start it. And we're gonna make a good thing out of it. Like he said, I did go up to Kalispell and they said they had it paid in 2.5 years. That was paid off in 2.5 years. So they were making good money. And I looked at all the how much they're making, for a person and stuff. They making pretty good money on just one person and a family, But like I told my boys and stuff, I said, first thing when we do, we get that, we're gonna hire the kids out of the schools, the high schools, hire them kids into going, running the kid, spacing them out and making them, liking the check, and that's a good way to start them so they'll start liking money to start working, and they'll have fun doing that, and putting money in the bank. Yep, that's what I'm gonna have all the kids doing, and all the schools, Ronan, Polson, and Two Eagle, and get the kids out of there and put them in the park.
no,
I got good plans for that place to help a lot of kids. That's what I'm after, is helping the kids, doing something for the kids this time. Not for the adults, and they could come, but it's mostly for kids. I love kids, and I take care of my grandkids. I lost one the other day, but that hurt my heart because I raised him from a little guy, from 5 years old on up.
sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And I think we appreciate your plan.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we can do.
And that's what I'm trying to do, is do stuff for the kids this time.
Thank you for coming in today, Brad.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a good day.
We want executive for the next walk-in, so we'll go out of regular into executive. Sonny, go ahead, come up. Good morning.
I guess good morning. I finally got to see you guys. Sorry, a little winded. Well, I'm here about to request you to, as I stated before, to have Eagle Bank investigated, because in the papers that I signed, it said, there's a paper that said the FBI investigates mortgage fraud. Well, in 2008, I went down to Eagle Bank because some friends said, do you want to, like, do you want to get a car? And I said, what do you mean? They go, well, Eagle Bank's handing out car loans left and right because they're trying to get established. They're a new bank because Eagle Bank opened up in 2006. So I went down there and I got a car loan, and it was with that Dawn Cyphers. And then she started asking me about my house, and I said, I was part of the mutual homeowner program through Salish Kootenai Housing Authority. And she goes, how's that going? And I said, not very well. I said, because ever since I moved in there in December of 92, Jason Adams was trying to evict me for every little thing. And then she started talking to me about a HUD 184 loan. And she talked for a while. And I said, I don't know. I said, my house is like a little over halfway paid off. And then we talked for a little more. And then I said, I don't know. And then she had another appointment. She said, can you come back and see me again? And we could talk some more. And I said, okay. So I went back a second time, and I still wasn't kind of convinced, but I filled out some papers with her. And that was in May of 2008. And then I wish James was here because he signed a sublease on July 28th of 08. And I believe that it was for my HUD 184 loan. But when it come down to it, in October, the banker had changed without my approval or my knowledge at the time that he changed it to a 2-year uninsured mortgage, but there was never no appraisals done of the house. Nobody came out to the house and looked at the house or anything. And so he changed the loan, and then I didn't know that till 2010 when he called me up and asked me if I had $54,000. And I said, $54,000? I thought he was joking. I said, no, I don't have $54,000 under my mattress or buried out in my yard in a coffee can, like how long people did a long time ago because they didn't trust banks. And then he goes, no, that loan you got, it was for like 2 years. And I go, and it has a balloon payment. And I said, well, what's that? This is the first time hearing about it. And so then he said, well, then if you don't have the money, then I'm going to have to foreclose on you. He said, unless you come up and we do this other loan, and which it wasn't even actually really another loan, it was a loan modification. And then in December of 2010 is when they actually did a HUD 184 loan, because I was here in 2018, in April of 2018, and I got letters that are inside this orange book here that I had given to council, and I requested stuff from Vern Claremont because they brought Vern in at the time. Like what's the time limit? How long does it take to do a HUD 184 loan? And then what's the 2-year mortgage? Because after I talked to you guys, then I went down to Eagle Bank, and then I asked them about a mortgage, and they said, yeah. And then I asked, can I get a 2-year mortgage with uninsured? And they go, we don't do those. So I put down that note because that's what it just says. It just says a note, and I said, well, then what's this? I said, this is what the banker did. And then that person got up and they left and they never came back. So I sat at that desk for a long time before I realized that they're not coming back. And so then I've been trying to get stuff figured out, but here is I have trouble seeing since that doctor, and it's like everybody does something. The doctor went and changed my blood pressure medicine that my regular doctor had me on lisinopril, and then another one in the evening. And the doctor changed it to lisinopril. And the first time I took it on a Thursday, I got a really bad headache back here. Then I took it all the way till Sunday. Then I quit because the headaches was too bad. But then I didn't notice that my eyesight was fading because it was like in November, when it starts getting dark early. And I didn't notice that until we were coming back from Spokane when I went over there to get some car parts for my Firebird. But anyway, this is I think it's like it says May 19th or something of 2008, and it says loan program 184. And that's what I applied for. And I never requested this loan that the banker churned it into, because when they did the HUD 184 loan, then I asked them about, well, what about my first time homeowners buyers benefits that Dawn, the one I was first talking to, because she disappeared because I met with her on a Thursday, the second time. And then we talked and I still wasn't convinced. So she goes, she was sitting there for a while and I was watching her and it looked like, she was thinking. She goes, I think I have a way that, my interest, can you come back Monday at 10 o'clock? And I said, sure. So I came back Monday at 10 o'clock and then I think her name was Lisa, the one that greets you when you come into the bank. She asked me what I wanted and I said I was there to see Dawn. Then she had a weird look on her face and I said, well, what's up? And then she kind of like looked around and I said, I was here Thursday and she goes, yeah. And she goes, well, Friday after work, Dawn cleaned out her desk and she's not coming back. And I said, well, that don't make no freaking sense to me. And she goes, what? I said, if she was going to quit the next day after I was visiting her, I said, why did she make an appointment for me to be here now? Like why I'm here now? And she goes, well, I don't know what's going on, but I just know that Friday after work, she cleaned out her desk and she's not coming back. And so I stood there for like 5 minutes or so. Then I said, well, I guess that freaking bag's that. So then I left and then like early June, then that Frank Vichella starts calling me. And then he starts asking me about, we need to finish this loan. And, 2008, that's when Fannie Mae and everybody went crazy and caused a recession because they deregulated the banks. And so I go, who are you? I don't even know you. And then he said that, well, I'm Frank Vichella. The tribe hired me to run Eagle Bank. And he says, can you come in and we'll talk? And I says, all right. So I went in and then that's when they told me I had to get a sublease and stuff. And then, like I said, then James is the one who did the sublease. And in the sublease, it says it can't be used for anything else. And that's in these papers here. And so if it couldn't be used for anything else and it was specifically supposed to be for my HUD 184 loan, how did that guy use that sublease to do this other loan? Because when he did that, it canceled housings because the house got paid off, and then it canceled housings lease with the tribe, because that's what the mutual homeowner program stated, and that's what Holly gave me a letter in 2005, because when Jason was trying to kick me out at that time, because my son, who is living in Mission with his mom, because she had residential custody of him, and so Gail McBroom said that I should put my other sons that I didn't have residential custody over. I just had James, and then she had Travis and Thomas. So when I put them on my list, well, they were down at Rob and Marcia Carmen's, and I don't know what happened there, but Thomas had a pipe on him. And then that's what Jason was trying to evict me over, was Thomas having a pipe. I didn't even know he was that peachy or nothing. But nothing happened to Rob or Marcia. And that's where it happened. That was their place. And like I said, the only way I found out about it is I had a letter in the mail that I was getting evicted. So then I had to go to the defender's office, and then that's when Larry Jennings was a defender, and then he got it all like dismissed or whatever. But when the bank paid with that loan, it got the home site lease cancellation. And this home site lease cancellation is like what they're using it got canceled in November of 2008. And then in 2010, when he did the loan modification, he used the canceled home site lease. And then he used the same canceled home site lease when he did the HUD 184 loan in December of 2010. Well, in February of 2011, then they sold it to Bank 2. And then Bank 2, I guess, is part of Chickasaw and some other, because they're all three different ones or whatever. That's what Jody Perez just told me the other day, because we were trying to see if Thomas could have that home site, because I never did get a home site lease there. when it got paid off. And then, because Holly's letter, that's what it said was, like when you, because I was trying to, after Jason tried to evict me, and then so I went down to Lance, and then I was talking to Holly, and then she wrote a letter that says, I am sending the information you requested. Enclosed, you will find a copy of a blank lease template regarding rules and regulations that pertain to leases under the Tribal Lands Department. As I also, I wanted to mention that your lease in Pishi quantifies as a tribal home site lease. Regulations state that a tribal member is eligible for one home site lease only. So due to having your mutual help unit in Ronan, you would not qualify for an additional site through our office. You may, however, submit an application to be placed on the home site waiting list. Leases take an average of 3 years, depending on the individual's needs and rating status. And I never did understand what the rating status was. I have enclosed a home site application for your review. Once again, you would not be eligible for a site until your current site was transferred to another party. Being you are a mutual help participant, when you have paid off your obligations to SKHA, you will then enter into a lease agreement under the Tribal Lands Department. And I told her, well, that don't make no sense to me either. I said, because now you're saying I could get on the list, and even if I found a home site or whatever, I couldn't actually move into it until somebody moved into where I left. I said it would make more sense that if I was looking for another home site and then I found one, then I got approved for that. And then I would just kind of like transfer out of where I was at to my new home site lease, instead of, because the way it sounds, the way she has it written is like, I have to move out, like go get kicked to the curb and then wait to get a home site lease instead of, just like transferring out. But anyway, that never happened when the house got paid off in 2008. And it's just had a council's home site lease since then. And when I was telling them that, according to our constitution and our corporate charter, you can't mortgage or sell any tribally owned land. And in regards to the cancellation on this one here, Nate actually mentions that, and it's kind of hard to read. It says that, do they need to issue me another lease? And it says to Thomas Loza Jr. because this lease has got canceled. And then see, this is a same lease as that's in the front of this book, but it has Nate's little notations there. And like I said, I never did get another home site lease. And then when they sent me and Thomas the other day, last Wednesday, I think it was, to we was talking to Rachel Big Sam, and then she said that housing was foreclosing. And then when we got out so they said to go see Johnson Kai at housing. So she said that he was aware that we were on our way. And then when we got there, and I was telling him, like about the loan that was done in 2008, I said like there's papers that there was supposed to be a notary there. And I asked Frank, I said, well, what about this? And he goes, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it, and it's was like for an affidavit for my signature. So if that wasn't notarized, then even though I signed all this, it's like it's not legal, because he shortcutted the proper methods, and because I know when you get something notarized, then you're required to sign the notary's book. And like I said, there was just me and Frank there at the desk, and then because I was in there on the 6th, the 8th, and the 10th, and then when I was in there on the 10th, when I sat down at his desk, on his desk was a $27,235.50 check in my name. It was set up to where I didn't have to like, what's that? You know, it was set up to where I could read it. And so he was talking for a little bit, and then I asked him, well, what's this for? And then he goes, if you just sign these papers over here, then you could have that. And then I think that's when he switched to loans on me. Because then I was like, well, I was focused on the $27,000, you know. And so I thought about it, and about 5 minutes later, I said, well, all right. I said, but I want you to make a copy of this check. And he goes, what for? And I said, well, I never had a $27,000 check before. I just want to have a copy of it, you know, because once I cash it, the check's gone and then the money will be gone. So he gave me a copy, and that's in here too. And so anyway, I think that's when he changed the loan on me. But when you look at the loan papers, there's the master leases, RPO 27-0454. That's when on February 5th of February of 2004 is when I entered into a 50-year lease with housing, because I was, you know, doing the rent to own thing. And when the loan got done in 2008, it canceled this here lease, and it canceled my lease that I had with them. So that's what I'm like really confused, because they're trying to say, well, somehow this here sublease survived the cancellation. And I said, well, when you look at all the numbers on it, I said it has the master lease's numbers. I said, so it canceled that, and that's what's on the 2010 HUD loan, when I actually got a HUD loan. And then in this orange book is the letters that I presented to the council and to the superintendent at the time. And then in the consent to sublease, it goes on to say this consent shall apply only to this sublease and shall not be deemed consent to an other sublease. And so that's what I was trying to tell them, that I believe that when the banker changed the loan without my knowledge or permission, that this sublease got canceled at the same time, because the sublease is off the master lease that got canceled. And then they're trying to say, no, because I said, I know what you're doing. I said, you're using the act of March 29th, 1956, I said, which is Public Law 450. I says, and you can't do that. I said, because our Constitution and our corporate charter supersedes that Public Law 450. And in this here assignment of leasehold mortgage, and then that's when they're assigning it to Bank 2 or somebody. But on the
Sonny? Carol has something she wanted to say.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we've been through this issue a number of times, and I've heard Sunny talk about it. What we need to do, we've done this before in the past with other Sunny's other issues, and they get to be real, there's a lot of information here, and there's a lot of accusations, and those people aren't here to defend themselves. So I would like to ask the legal department to help Sunny walk through this process, find out what's going on, and bring it back to us. I mean, I think the ultimate goal is for him to get his lights back on, or
well, I don't know, because they said that they were going, because when we talked to him and was trying to get Thomas to have the home site lease there, and they said, well, would you relinquish the house and stuff? And I said, I'm not relinquishing anything. I said, until the bank gets investigated, and that's what I'm requesting, because that's that's in this book too.
I can say, Sonny, that banks are highly regulated. I would take exception to that kind of accusation for our bank, our tribal bank, that you're calling out on the carpet. And I think we need to have legal look at this, and if there is something going on, we can get to the bottom of it, but
I
until
just
we have
I
eyes.
just explained to you what they did. You know, because he switched the loan on me, I was robbed of my first homeowners, buyers, whatever. And they actually state right here that they're using that, what I just said, to mortgage this property. And I said, our Constitution and corporate charter says that you can't mortgage tribally owned land. And they said that we're just mortgaging the house. And I said, well, that's not what the leasehold mortgage is about. I said, because when they did the HUD loan in 2010, it said, it created the document said satisfied leasehold mortgage from the 2008 one. I said, when it says satisfied, I said, that means that they paid it off. I said, if you didn't mortgage it, then why is it getting paid off?
I tend to agree with Carol in that we need to have somebody outline what happened throughout the whole process and.
Well, yeah, well, that's why I have another meeting with, the Homeward person in Missoula, and they're part of the SEC. And so that's what I'm going to have her, like, get us in touch with the SEC, and then make an appointment with the federal prosecutor and let them look at it too, because we're a federally recognized tribe. That's a federally owned bank, you know, and or a regulated bank, like you said. And that's what I want to know is how a banker can change a person's loan without asking the person, you know, because I never requested this here 2-year, they call it a mortgage, but it just says a note, you know, because like I said, nobody came out to the house and did an appraisal of the house, because when they did the HUD 184 loan, I got my bank papers from then, and they had, I think his name was Bill Trosper or somebody like that. He came out to the house and did an appraisal of the house, and I got that there, but no appraisals was done in 2008. But these are where I marked these off here, but these are for you, these 2 books here of all the information and stuff that I'm talking about, because I made more than just these 2. I made enough for like the federal prosecutor and the FBI, because that's what I said. There's, you know, because that's what it says right here. It says mortgage fraud is investigated by the FBI. And I believe that this is mortgage fraud, what they did. That's why I'm requesting you to notify the FBI on my behalf to investigate those books, those letters, when I presented them. And everything that I'm talking about here is what I'm talking about 2018. And I've requested information from her and you guys, and I haven't heard nothing since then. Did you ever figure it out? Because I told Tom, I said that corporate charter is invalid because it's unconstitutional. So Eagle Bank, and I got a paper in there listing all the businesses under the corporate charter. They're all invalid. The corporate charter is unconstitutional. I told him that a couple years ago. That's when he said that he could have to look because we were on the Constitutional Review Committee. He had his stuff blocked up. Oh, look at it, I said, because the corporate charter is unconstitutional, it's inapplicable. Even though it got voted on just like the Constitution, it conflicts with the Constitution. So it's invalid. That's what I'll be bringing up with these other entities like the federal prosecutor and stuff, because Eagle Bank and all these other entities that are under the corporate charter are illegal because the corporate charter is unconstitutional. And I can prove it. And I even used the as amended constitution in the book there that shows that you can't be mortgaging or selling any tribally owned land. And that's the same thing that the original constitution says, because the as amended constitution is invalid because of and I brought this up the year that, because I actually filed a complaint with the superintendent, Shanna Rutherford or Radford, whatever her name was before she quit, about voter fraud. And I said that, like the at-large seat is illegal because that you need a constitutional amendment to do that. You can't just take it upon yourselves to create that. It has to be voted on as a constitutional amendment. And that never happened.
Thank you, Sonny.
But yeah, so when can I hear about when you're going to notify the FBI? I would like to do that soon because they're trying to move as fast as they can to have me evicted off of the property and stuff like that. And I told, like, that's where I got Travis's ashes buried. I got his ashes, like when I got his ashes back 2 years ago, I took ashes to the four corners of that home site lease and then the four corners of the house. And then in the house, in his bedroom, I just took a spoonful and blew him all over in there.
I can't tell you exactly when I'll have to confer with legal, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, well, like I said, I got an appointment on the 17th with the homeward person, and that's what I'm going to request her to do, is to like notify the SEC and then go to the federal courthouse and then make an appointment with the prosecutor and present the same stuff that I gave you there. And like I said, they actually use that public law 450 when they're trying to assign that home site lease to Bank 2 or Chickasaw, one of them. Because I said, I don't even know who has anything, and I've never received anything in writing from them about them foreclosing or anything. And I said, so what happened with the notifications part, because we signed a paper for that too. But like I said, with that first loan, there was notarized places that needed to be notarized, and one was to recognize my signature legally, and that wasn't notarized, and that's in those books too. And so that's what I told them. I said, I want to get the validity of that actual first loan with them shortcutting, that without having to call a notary over there to have her while I was signing those, because I asked him about that. I said, well, what about this, and I go, there's supposed to be a notary signature here. And he goes, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And I've sold cars and stuff. And when I sign my titles over, I have to sign that notary's book. So I didn't know how he was going to handle it without me being there, because I would have to sign the notary's book. The notary couldn't put her stamp on my signature that's already there without me presenting an ID showing that that's actually me that's signing this paper in front of her or him.
I'm not going to argue with you about notaries, Sonny, and appreciate what you've brought in, and I'll confer with legal and I'll get back to you.
Okay, and I would tell you my phone number, but like with my stroke that I had when I was in the hospital, I just got my medical records in the mail yesterday, so I haven't been able to get them together. And there's like certain things, certain people I didn't even recognize, like I didn't recognize when I was at Rick's funeral. I didn't recognize my cousin Char Neal. And then I actually didn't even recognize my ex-wife. I knew her when I was talking to her on the phone when I was in the hospital, but when she came into the dining room and there was my girlfriend and her kind of like was face to face, and so they told each other hello. Then my girlfriend asked me, aren't you going to say hello? And I looked and I said, well, who's that? And she started laughing. I go, what's so funny? She goes, that's your ex, the mother to your children.
I have your phone number, Sonny.
Oh, okay. But yeah, well, that's, like I said, that they're, since I wouldn't relinquish nothing, Jody and them said that, well, they were gonna like start to try to get a hold of the Department of Justice because that's what, when I talked to HUD in 2018, and then I sent them information and Bank Two, you'll see that on that letters to you guys, that, that person who was a woman I was talking to, she said that, well, when it got foreclosed on, somebody from the Department of Justice would come down and post the house as foreclosed and you give you an eviction notice. And so I said, well, an eviction notice, is that like just for the house or do I have to get off the home site too? Because it's got a leasehold mortgage on it. And then I never did get an answer to that. And then when they're telling me that they just mortgaged the house, I said, well, then if that's true, then the home site, I said, should still be in my name if I actually signed another lease. I said, and the house would have to be removed from the foundation and taken off the property if you didn't mortgage the home site lease too. I said, then I should be sitting there with the foundation, electricity, and the water if you didn't mortgage the home site lease. I said, but according to what I'm reading on the papers, you did. I said, and it violates the Constitution and the corporate charter. So that's where I'm at right now. It's like,
we've heard you, Sonny. We have.
But like I said, well, time is kind of like of the essence because I don't know how fast they're going to be moving to have somebody from the Department of
We understand.
Justice come in. So I don't know if I'm going to have to like get off the property, then I'll have to see about selling my storage sheds and whatever else I can do to get a teepee and a wall tent because that'll be what I'll be living in. Because I'm not interested in assisted living or being in housing. And that was like what the purpose of getting the mutual homeowner thing is, so I wouldn't have to live under housing's rules. Because there's a lot of stupid nitpicky rules they got.
Thank you, Sonny.
Yep. So anyway, that's why I say that time is of the essence on my behalf, because if I'm going to have to get out there, I'm going to have some advance notices, and I don't know exactly where I'm going to be living other than go down to allotment 1610A, which was illegally taken from my dad in November 9th of 84. The tribal council purchased it from Cub de Montier, and right now today, as it was a 2415 case that still hasn't been resolved, there's no clear title. And I've talked to Leonard about that before, was because he's actually drove me down there when he was a land technician and showed me where it was at. And I said, and Frenchie Berland at the time said he didn't know how the tribe was buying it because it doesn't have a clear title, because my dad never signed anything to say that. And I actually got the February 1950 letter where they state that they was able to get all the signatures except for my dad's. So that's probably where I'll have to go down there to assert my ownership of that, because I tried to have you guys resolve that and that's in 2007 when James Steele took Ronald McDonald and all you guys in here and said that there was nothing they could do about it because they thought it was legal. I said, how can it be legal? Because on the title, it still says that it doesn't conform to the Act of May 14th, 1948, which requires a signature of somebody who's going to sell their property, and my dad refused to. And so he still owns that. Well, I own it now because I inherited it from him, and that's where I'm going to go assert my ownership of those 8 acres that he received from his mother. I cannot.
Thank you, Sonny.
Yeah, so I'll be talking about that too here soon, because I want to get that taken care of too because you guys never do nothing about it, because it's violation of your constitutional rights, or my rights, that you guys not be purchasing property without a clear title, and that's what you did. I'm not saying you personally, but your perpetual succession. So you guys are like holding the bag what former council people ahead of you did.
Understood. Thank you. Have a good day. Go ahead, Carol.
I would hope in the future, when you're mentioning names that are not here to defend themselves, we need to stop the discussion.
Thank you, Carol. Dan, I think I got some books for you.
Tribal health rescheduled, so we can move to Pete.
So you're saying Sam and Joe both rescheduled?
Yeah, they rescheduled for next Thursday.
Okay. Is Pete here? I think we'll take a 10-minute break. Well, let's come back to order here. We got Martin. You were handy. Danny, you want to do some introductions?
Yes, please.
Well, come on up.
Good morning. Today we are lucky to have some folks from the Carter Foundation that are doing some work on Indian voting. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, council members, esteemed council members, for your time this morning. My name is Adrian Carrasquillo. I'm a program associate in the Carter Center's Democracy Program. Been working in Montana for the past year in partnership with the Mansfield Center to put on the Montana Election Observation Initiative. And before I go into that, I just want to say it's a very enormous responsibility to represent the Carter Center in front of this esteemed council. So I just want to say I carry that with pride, honor, and I'm very, very excited to talk about the exciting work that we did last year and the exciting plans we have to utilize the momentum from last year's general election into this year's local elections to sort of expand how we do things with the Montana Election Observation Initiative. A bit of background. Last year, the Carter Center chose Montana to launch this pilot initiative because Montana's laws allow for a lot of access into the election procedures that happen. Just as a tidbit that varies a lot from state by state. And the Carter Center wants to create a movement to allow nonpartisan observers to be more engaged in the election process and create more transparency in the process and build voter confidence across the country. So through a partnership with Mansfield Center, we branded MTEOI and we convened an advisory board of career election officials to sort of adapt the technical expertise that the Carter Center held into the needs and the context across Montana's local communities. Our approach last year was very rule of law based, going through Montana's state election code to understand what information we need to communicate to communities, just so they understand what's happening, not just on election day at the polls, but the various pre-election day processes and post-election day, all until the certification of results. So I'm very glad that we were successful in launching more than 125 nonpartisan observers across 16 counties in Montana. And we created a final report that we use to inform communities, educate them, and offer room for improvement. Because elections are very complex, human run. There can be some bumps in the road, but our final report found that Montana's elections abided by state law, that folks were able to vote, and that we didn't identify any egregious instances of fraud, all to help people understand their elections, that they're safe, and also I like to say that we're providing another way to engage with elections outside of what some may call a very polarized political binary environment that we find our country in. This year, we're very excited to use local elections to expand our reach and deepen engagement in communities. Through the Mansfield Center, we're really excited to engage in the Confederation and work potentially with, say, Baelish Kootenai College to give them resources to put on observation and also do election education and other avenues just to keep the activity up and not lose the momentum from last year. With that, I'll introduce my colleague, Nicole Roselle, who's the new manager of the initiative.
Thank you, Adrian. Good morning, esteemed council members, and we are deeply grateful for your giving us some time to introduce ourselves to you today. As my colleague Adrian mentioned, I have recently joined the Montana Election Observation Initiative as manager over the past few months. Although I've spent the past 20 years or so supporting nonpartisan citizen observation as a way to empower voters with information to better understand, participate in their elected processes as part of a broader democratic engagement. And so it's a real honor to be here with you today. As Adrian mentioned, while we have begun to engage in this work across the state, we really look at this year and going forward to deepen relations, deepen ties, and deepen our own understanding through the work. As Adrian mentioned, we are speaking with Dr. Munson later on today, and we'll be engaging with Lindsay to better understand your community's concerns and issues and where we can amplify efforts and also engage in community more deeply in the months and years ahead. So with that, we appreciate your time. Welcome any questions you have today or going forward. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you for the work that you're doing. It's really important to support our democracy, especially now. And for coming here to CSKT. And when my kids were little, when I was a young mother, I went and voted, and the people at the polling site were rude to me. And so I went through the training in Missoula County and worked as an election judge. I'm like, okay, I will be part of this process now. And there were people, non-Indians, who saw a brown woman sitting there and they didn't want to engage with me. And the other people that I was working with said, you have to engage with her or you can't vote today. She's part of the process. Like, you have to show her your ID, or, that was my job that day, was checking people's IDs. And so it's really important for people of color to be part of the process. And then I volunteered in Sanders County at our satellite election offices. So I think CSKT has been really proactive in getting satellite voting offices. And when I worked those voting offices, volunteered at the satellite voting offices, I saw a lot of people who were voting for the first time because it made voting accessible to them. So, being in Hot Springs, being in Dixon, that was really important for people. Even though the numbers weren't huge, it still counts, and it gets people engaged in our democracy, and it gets people engaged in the process. And then other people, I think tribal people, felt better when they came in and they saw someone like me sitting there. They're like, okay, I'm represented here. There's people like me who are part of this. This is something I can be part of too. So it's really important work, especially now. So thank you. Thank you for coming.
Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Adrian, Nicole, thank you for coming in. Thank you for your work. I'm a recovering critic, I guess you could say, of the election process. Ever since Al Gore got cheated out of his presidency, I just think of what the country would be today versus what we're at today if he would have been the president. So it's real critical, the amount of effort that we put into elections and making sure the process is well vetted, and you have potential voters that are well educated on their rights and how they can vote and to make their votes count, their vote count. So I appreciate your work. Really do. Thank you.
Any other remarks or questions? Well, Nicole and Adrian, thank you for coming and visiting. You're doing important work.
We appreciate the audience again and the comments and the commitments, and we will commit to staying in touch and keeping you abreast of our work as part of our commitment to accountability to your community and others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Pete.
All right.
Morning, everyone. How are you today? Another day in paradise. Well, this morning, first off, like to thank you for entertaining our discussion today, and wanted to also introduce two coworkers who are online, Bo LaSalle and Ashley Jarvis. Ashley actually works here on the reservation, and works heavily within all aspects of IEC. Bo is a technical assistance provider out of Rocky Boy, Montana, and is specifically for our tribe and tribal producers. Pretty much kind of the west side of Montana is his area. And us as IAC, just kind of wanted to give a little background of who we are, what we represent, and then have Bo talk a little bit about what we can provide to the tribe and tribal members, and then kind of get into the meat of things as far as prior council actions on the delegates for the caucus, and then seeing what direction that the tribe wants to move forward with. So with that, just kind of as an overview, agriculture is really a backbone of tribal economies. And during the 1980s, there was a large farm crisis, where a lot of farmers were hit pretty hard. But in Indian country, it was much worse than what we've seen as far as access to credit and everything else. Some of the common barriers that we've seen within Indian country, obviously, we still see some today: fractionated land issues, limited access to credit, federal mismanagement, and then also access to conservation and tools such as that through the federal government. Out of that crisis came the Intertribal Ag Council, which was put together in the 1986 through congressional action based off of the American Indian Agriculture Resource Management Act. So essentially how IAC was formed was knowing that there was a crisis happening within our food system. Some very forward-thinking individuals thought, well, if this is bad for all farmers, and they realized that because it was bad for tribal members and tribes, they created IEC. And what's unique about it is it was a congressional action to start IAC. So we're a nonprofit as it sits, but we're unique in the fact that the federal government seen a need within agriculture in the Indian country to provide some sort of resource for tribes and tribal members. So within, I believe we start on page 13. That's kind of a high level background of what we do. And I guess there's delegate involvement. There's natural resources, technical assistance, meat and poultry processing technical assistance. And then I guess I'll kind of go through the caucus a little bit, and then I'll let Bo take over and really kind of gear into what we can provide swiftly. Within the caucus, obviously there's issues that are plaguing either local or national level for tribes and tribal members. So what the caucus does is it brings those issues to a gathering, a meeting place, and the tribes who are a part of that prioritize those within a region. And then based on that prioritization and the caucus issues are listed, we report that into a large report every year so you can see what are some of the issues within Indian country throughout the nation. And what we'll do as IAC is we look at those caucus priorities, and then we kind of that sets our goals and our strategy for the upcoming years. So I'll let Bo, and if I miss some colorization on that, I'm sure that he can definitely put some light to that.
Yeah, thank you guys for letting us join your meeting today. Appreciate the time. My name is Bo LaSalle. I'm from Rocky Boy, as Pete said. Grew up on a cattle ranch, cow calf operation, and continue to do that to this day. Also was heavily involved with our tribal farms here at Rocky Boy, small grain farming of about 10,000 acres at the tribe farms themselves. So that's a little bit about me. As far as IAC goes and the technical assistance that we provide and that we can do, a lot of what we do is assist tribal producers and tribes with USDA programs, FSA, NRCS, supporting tribes with their food sovereignty initiatives, anywhere we can help out there. And a lot of what we do and provide is networking within tribes and with our tribal partners, and our corporate partners at excuse me, at IAC, and just connecting tribes and tribal producers with the right people to move forward with their projects. We have a natural resources department that can help out with any technical assistance on the natural resources side, which I think is increasingly important right now with the USDA's reduction in force. So we'll be out in the field to kind of help tribes and tribal producers along those lines. We have a regenerative economies team that's really looked into regenerative agriculture and really the economics of it and the economics as a whole of tribal producers and how agriculture is affecting tribes and producers individually. One of the things that I guess I'm most always excited about, being an ex-school teacher for a few years, is our Native Youth and Leadership program and helping really to get the youth excited about agriculture and continuing that forward on our tribal lands. Few things that IAC's kind of done in the last year, just a few stats that kind of put some numbers out there is IAC's helped about 80,000 producers and community members with direct servicing from our IAC programming. And there's provisions of direct outreach and assistance between 12,000 and 15,000 producers and tribes contracts annually. That's kind of where our numbers sit right now. So really getting out there in the tribes across the country. And one of the big things here in the last year or so is we've done or helped generate over about $30 million in domestic and international sales for tribal producers as far as their food and products go. So just we're kind of here as a anything and everything agriculture and looking forward to working more with CSKT. Got to come over last week and do a tour of the meat processing facility and how that's going along, and the food sovereignty program, how that's going, and really have just been telling everybody about your guys' food sovereignty program and how that is set up, and really a good model. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Bo. And I think a fun fact with that is the food sovereignty program is actually purchasing grain from Rocky Boy. Is that correct, Bo?
Yep. So we have our food sovereignty program has a grain that we produce here. It's called kamut, and we've made it milled it into a flour, and the food sovereignty program is now buying some of our flour to put into their food there. So a lot of cool things going on, and hopefully we can build off of those types of relationships.
Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bo, I just wanted to ask you more specifically about your 10,000 acre operation there on Rocky Boy. Is that where the flour is coming from?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah, you set that up and how that's operated in like 3 seconds.
Yeah, you bet. So actually, I have an in at the farms because my dad runs and manages the farms, but we have some acres that were in organic. The guy that started Kamut lives in Big Sandy, or he didn't start it, but brought it up. I think I got kicked out.
Yeah, I recall that, producer. Yes.
Yep. Anyways, so we had a deal where the tribe bought a flour mill and the farms grew about 60 acres of kamut annually, 60 to 100, and the tribe purchases it and mills it themselves, and then now they've got into production of actually selling it, made it enough to sell. So
And one of the purposes of the meeting that we had last week too is we met with Jordan and Casey on what it looks like for the tribe to be more involved in agriculture with the potential of purchasing more acres, and kind of looking at, is there a development or is there an opportunity to have an agricultural department that focuses more business development, economic development, looking at the food sovereignty program and expanding it into food systems. And then another pillar of it is conservation. Knowing that we have climate change and there's climate change issues, how can we prepare our soils, our rangelands, so that it has more water retention, we have better root structures, and we're putting back natural forages or traditional grasses, and how can we minimize weeds, noxious weeds, with both grazing and non-chemical applications, so that we can reduce the cost of chemical. And then some of that also is some infrastructure, moving into trying to look at how can, and I know we've had this conversation before, is how can the tribe create some sort of a procurement program to where they're bulk purchasing weed spray, fencing material, those types of things, so that those costs can be passed down to the producers, but then also programs that the tribe has that needs those things can have that at a better price, instead of each department purchasing something at a higher cost. How can we bulk purchase and pre-plan some of that? So that was kind of the premise of our conversation last week with Jordan, and pretty fruitful. I think we have kind of a foundation laid out. The best thing about it is Bo, with his work within the technical assistance, and then his with understanding tribal farms. So there's some really great examples within Indian country that within our network we can provide, so that if it's just not one idea, there's multiple ideas, and that within that network we can see what was the pros, what was the cons, what were the sticking points, and what were the easy wins to creating that. And really it comes down to really managing these acres, because we need to manage a food system. And at the end of the day, with the USDA cutting funding, especially for food programs, how can we better facilitate that for ourselves? And that's really where we're at as far as IAC and what we represent.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I was going to say that's an excellent idea about separating agricultural from lands, because I think there's really a dual purpose for both of those departments. But have you been out, like you just said, you were out in Indian country and you've seen other entities or tribes that have developed agricultural programs? And so what exactly is in those programs? Just everything that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, and maybe Bo can speak to, I'll speak to a little bit. Most tribes have it set up as their ag department is their natural resource department, and we're a little different, to where we have a larger structure of that, right? So I mean, we have natural resources, we have wildlife, lands, natural, all of it. I can't speak to all of them, but I mean, the one thing that we don't have is that agriculture piece.
Yeah.
So within what we're kind of proposing is trying to provide three options. Does an ag department look better within lands? Does it look better within just the department under natural resources, or is there some sort of blend? Because obviously there's 638 contract obligations within lands that you cannot, and those really need focus, especially when we're talking about reduction in workforce from a BIA and USDA standpoint. more than ever do we need to take care of business on our responsibilities from the 638 contract. So I mean, I think that there's opportunity, there's growth, there may be some growing pains within it, but we're trying to find that right piece for the tribe.
I really believe that lands has I think a constitutional obligation. And so they
do,
need to
yep.
focus on land into trust, those kind of trust issues.
Yeah.
And then have an agricultural department, like you said, not only be a purchasing agent for all entities that use like chemicals and stuff, but to me, that's an excellent idea. Just that we don't usually develop new departments until most recently the council's developed new departments. And so I would say we need to step back and put a few of those components into the
Yeah.
agricultural department and really make it a strong entity. And if not, you know, Rich is always up for taking on another portion of.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't know, and it's like really in the exploratory phases of this. So, I mean, I probably gave you more information than I probably should have because this has been a conversation between me, Bo, Casey, and Jordan, and really we're finding the right time to start bringing in Tony, and then who are the right people that we need at the table from the tribal government perspective to really provide a really good report so that you guys can make the best decision on this. Because I mean, from a budgetary standpoint, obviously you're shifting budgets or you're increasing budgets, but at the same time, it's an investment in your land. And I mean, from a land base, and from an agriculture land base, I mean, 1.3 million acres. There's roughly about 1,000 farms. Average age is 59 years. But there's $70 million worth of egg products that come through the Flathead Reservation, and this is from a census, and only 12 million of that is coming through from American Indian producers. So how do we secure our food systems, and how do we provide a better economic opportunity for folks? And then also, you know, if we look at economy standpoint, if we would rather see that money stay here, right? And for our producers. So if we can have more producers have a better economic impact, then that just uplifts the community, and maybe there's opportunity for additional revenue streams with that.
I just wanted to say one other thing. We're buying some huge properties and they have a lot of equipment, a lot of sprinkler equipment, all of that stuff. And it needs to be taken care of. So I think, you know, it would be perfect to have an entity that could handle and manage all of those things and then spray weeds.
And then what's the best management? You know, I mean, there's options on it, right? Is there an option to where, say, if you have a producer who may be tribal or non-tribal already operating or running that place and they want to stay on, is there opportunity for them to do that for a 5-10 year contract cycle? But in the meantime, they're providing assistance to a tribal producer, right? So, I mean, that's an option. And if there's not an option, then can you enter that into some sort of conservation plan to where you're developing better practices where you're doing some weed management and whatnot on those properties, and then you can have it ready for lease to a tribal member as leasing a whole farm or ranch, or it goes into a tribal production, right? To where if the tribe's interested in raising grains like what Bo mentioned, or if it's cattle herds or it's bison herds, then you kind of have an infrastructure that's ready to sustain that. I'm moving on. Our biggest thing at this point in time is looking at the CSKT delegate. And, you know, CSKT, really our forethought was this tribe has been a founding member of IAC from the very beginning. And we've had a very strong stance within IAC. And kind of how the process works is each tribe by resolution has a delegate, and a secondary delegate. And what those individuals do is they bring forth, like I mentioned before, the issues that we see within the reservation from our producer standpoint or from the tribes, and then brings them to a event and they rank them. And then the region votes on them, and then they get compiled into a large list of national caucus issues. Some of the issues are pretty much the same as what we see. And I mentioned access to capital is a huge thing. And that's kind of my primary focus through IAC. Land fractionation, that's a large focus of mine as well. But then also conservation, technical assistance, anything that's natural resources so that we can have better footprint in land and having better land. I'm trying to find my words here. Better conservation on lands, essentially. And then also markets. I guess that's another focus of mine is access to markets and how can we take our products, whether they're wholesale or retail type of products, whether they're tribe or individual tribes, and how do we get them out into a marketplace and a distribution network. And that's kind of our focus is what's that distribution look like and how can we bring tribes together to tribes and tribal members with their products and help them. And we do a lot of value added. We help folks. And that's part of the MPPTA portion of that is we provide that technical assistance in the meat and poultry processing. So say like for the meat processing facility that's being built. We've helped with that quite a bit. And actually, Patrick is on our advisory council for MPPTA. But that's a resource and a network. And actually, a lot of people who's had their hands on that have been through IAC as well. Back to the caucus issue. It's by resolution. I think the last resolution was myself and Chairman Dolson were on the list. From IEC's perspective, that is still an active list or an active resolution. So if you all wanted to keep that, and I think that there may have been a thought that there was a conflict of interest with me being an employee of IEC and being a delegate, but there isn't. So if you wanted to continue to have me in that position, that'd be great. If not, that's fine too. One of the things though is there is an annual due for those. Pretty cheap compared to annual dues from other organizations. We look at $200 a year or $1,000 for 5 years. And that's just to be able to vote on those issues and bring them forward. And then that also gives you access to a lot of farm bill things that we do, a lot of policy things. We're in DC quite a bit as well, just on farm and ranch advocate things. And we can also provide a kind of a strong voice with that. So that's kind of the decision. About, I don't know if you have anything further to.
Just adding to the membership part of it, like Pete said, once the membership's paid in full or for the year, then you get to vote. Anybody can sit in on those caucus issues at our annual conferences when we have those. Anybody can come and sit in on them. They just don't get to vote on the caucus issue. So your issue that your tribe has will probably be heard at some point, but it might not be ranked on the list very high if they don't have somebody there that is a voting member. And as far as being a member tribe with dues, IAC as a nonprofit, we work with any tribe, any tribal producer, whether their tribe is a member or not. The real big benefit is that you get to kind of direct us on what we do for the year. And then, there's some, in the past, there's been some discounted rates for people to come to the annual conference in Vegas, a waived registration or a lower registration cost for tribes that are in good standing with their membership dues. So.
Go ahead, Daniel.
No, I think with the amount of land we're purchasing and the number of tribal farmers here, it's important for us to be involved. So thank you, Pete, for bringing this in, and hopefully we can pay those dues and get a delegate.
As Pete said, we do have a resolution in place. I was under the assumption that we have paid those dues. Is that not correct?
No. So I think we paid him, we were on, IAC didn't offer the multiple year payment structure until recently. And I think we paid the dues initially, and then last year we participated as a non-voting tribe. Yep. So, and it's something that we can provide a invoice to council, and then however you want to move forward with that.
Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if it takes a motion, but I'd make the motion that we do the multi-year dues for the IAC and also keep our current delegates.
Motion by Tom, second by Danielle to approve the multi-year payment. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
And you said there are regionals in Billings next week.
Yeah. So so kind of an engagement, what we looked at from a networking standpoint is our regional summit, which we do every year. We've actually had them here a few times, but we try to move them around in our region. Rocky Mountain Region Summit, September 16th, 17th. That's next week in Billings. I do believe from the list there are some representatives from CSKT attending. Food Sovereignty has some folks, and I maybe Lands has some folks. I'd have to relook at the list. And then the IAC annual conference, December 9th through the 11th. And then we have virtual roundtables that are participating tribes can convene on and listen in or provide input. And what we do with those roundtables is we kind of give an overview of what we're seeing from a federal government standpoint specific to BIA, USDA in agriculture. We work a lot with both natural resources departments in USDA and BIA and Office of Tribal Relations. We work and kind of set some priorities, help them set priorities on how can USDA and BIA better interface for conservation or even access to credit issues, land fractionation, because I mean, that's a huge thing. There's not a lot of products that allow for finance on those. So USDA and BI both have those products, and how can we get them more readily available? And so we're working pretty hard on those. So like those roundtables will give those give a perspective of what's happening, what we're seeing happening from our policy analyst point of view. But I strongly encourage. I don't know if the Billings event is too late, but I strongly encourage a good representation from council on the annual conference. Because there's a good networking opportunity to speak with folks from DC and the larger offices from the BIA and USDA perspective, but then also there's a lot of other member tribes that are going through some of the things that you guys are going through in one way or another. So they could provide a perspective that can really shape something that is dynamic and useful for the tribe and tribal membership.
Any questions for Bo or Ashley or Pete? Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, not necessarily a question, but I certainly support seriously looking at creating our own Department of Agriculture. I think it's the only way we're going to be able to move forward with especially the different opportunities we have with our current land acquisitions and future land acquisitions. And also to maximize whatever opportunities there are in the Farm Bill, whatever ends up being in the newest Farm Bill, I know in the past, and not to say anything against our NRCS employees that have been stationed here, but they really focused on providing services just to individual operators and not the tribal government. And we missed out on millions of dollars of opportunities on stuff we could have filed for on property that we owned in common that wasn't currently leased out to an individual. And I found that very disappointing. And I did argue with like, oh, Herb Webb, who was here. Herb, you man, come on, man. And they, well, no, hey, it's just like, well, we didn't supervise it. And so really to be an advocate, and the Farm Bill is everything. It's got so much in it for all of our departments. And it's incredible, and it could be incredible in the future. So we can't miss opportunities anymore. We really need to be proactive and be ahead of things. So I just want to make that comment. So I appreciate it. I know Pete's always been an advocate for that. I strongly support that type of a notion. And I think Carol mentioned it here, but it just really is important that we look at something like that.
Yeah, and I think too, to that note, just for your information, the farm bill that we're in right now is the 2018 Farm Bill. Hopefully at the end of this year, we'll have a CR in place that will continue that, because it doesn't look like from a government perspective, we're not going to have a new farm bill anytime soon. Even all the work that we put into it, I know we met with Zinke here as a tribe and other tribes. All that work kind of just is not there because we're just experiencing something different. So our hope is that a CR happens on the 2018 Farm Bill, because then there's food programs, there's SNAP, there's a lot of benefits within that we take advantage of as a tribe, and tribal nations as a whole take very good benefit of that. Just to kind of shed some light too on some conservation things, the tribe in the past has had a tribal conservation district. Within that tribal conservation district, our tribe can set priorities on certain practices that they do. So say for instance, stockwater, weed spraying management, if we see a need within the reservation, those can be prioritized through one of the NRCS programs, and the tribe can manage that with say a 4 or 5 person committee, whether that's producers or whether that's council or whatever it is. And I think that that's the way it was in the past, is representatives from the lands department kind of set those priorities. And then what that could do also is there's availability through BIA, as long as you have an agriculture resource management plan in place. And what you can do is you can take all of your resource management. So if forest management plan, IRMP, you can kind of utilize those as kind of the stepping stone. And you can add within the agriculture resource management plan, wildlife, conservation, rotational grazing, infrastructure improvements, FIP things that you're doing. And then also, is there opportunity to co-manage some pieces? So say like the wildlife mitigation pieces, range unit 20, kicking horse. Could there be a potential to introduce prescribed grazing on that, so that you have more palatable grasses, so that you have more wildlife on that property? So, I mean, those are examples of things that a tribal conservation district and an ARMP could provide, so that we're providing not only for benefit of grazing animals through agriculture, but we're really providing better forage for our wildlife as well. And if there's not any other questions, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Bo and Ashley.
Thank you guys for your time.
That brings us to Renee. I'm assuming this is in executive, Renee. We'll go out of regular into executive. Tom.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to utilize the buyer's Viper list for water tenders to provide mitigation stock water to the for this fall, which I think the curtailment begins on the 15th, and utilize them as a sole source contract list.
Non-competitive.
Non-competitive contract list as a tool to implement stock water.
Motion by Tom, second by Jimmy. All in favor? Go ahead, Carol.
Are they gonna use the list as it's set up? Because everybody's numbered, and then they go all the way through the list and then back to the bottom. Correct? Okay, just clarify.
I'll take that vote again. All in favor? We're unanimous. And Carol abstained. With that, we'll go out of regular back into executive.
Yes, okay. All right. Good afternoon, Tribal Chairman. Good afternoon. Okay, go ahead, Rachel.
Awesome. Thank you, Chairman and council members, for giving me time to ask you to review this request. I am a consultant. My name is Rachel Schmidt. I live in Whitefish, and I am here I'm actually working for a company called Cowboys and Indians Media Group. They were hired under contract by Media Giant, which is the advertising agency of record for the Montana Department of Commerce Office of Tourism. And CNI Media Group was hired to do a 3-part series. And part 1 was featuring Indian Days out of Browning, and part 2 was featuring Crow Fair. Those 2 features are already up and running. And then the part 3 that they would like to do is featuring wildlife and its habitat on CSKT lands. And examples of Cowboys and Indians Media Group platform media pieces as of recent. There was a cover and feature article about tribal bison herds in Northeast Montana, I believe 2 issues ago on newsstands. There was a digital interview just recently featuring Mo Briggs Plenty. And there's a current newsstand issue featuring fashion and contemporary tribal indigenous influence on global high fashion. So that's some of the stuff that this media group does. What they would like to do is come, and they're sending a journalist and a photo video journalist would like to spend 3 days filming and interviewing folks. The primary focus would like to be visiting the National Bison Range and the Bison Range Visitor Center. And then also doing also visiting 3 Chiefs Museum, and then locations near the Nine Pipes area, locations chosen by your staff, to do a lot of wildlife viewing and watching. And then also maybe a designated location to film the Flathead River. We'd like to ask for some approval for some areas to shoot B-roll footage. And those could be the Highway 93 overlook south of Polson on the east side of the road, overlooking the lake. On Highway 2, number 2 is the Highway 93 rest area south of St. Ignatius. And then number 3 would be a historical point of interest sign south of Ronan on the east side of the road. There's a grassy area. The staff, which is the writer, his name is Matt, and the videographer's name is Gigi. They would be coming in, staying at the Quatucknut Resort, and would coordinate directly with Rob, with Tara, and staff that they would direct them to. So yeah, I'm asking for an approval for a media visit from this group.
Any questions? Tom?
Yeah, just one question. What is the river? You mentioned the river.
Sorry, the Flathead River below Kerdam.
And what would that entail?
It would just be being able to just film the river. I know a lot of work has been done for habitat restoration and for wildlife, and the river is beautiful and gorgeous. So I thought that that could be a great spot to possibly do an interview with some of your biology staff, just however you guys would want to sculpt that.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, is this in writing anywhere or is it just us talking? Is there a proposal or?
I put a very brief request and then I gave a proposal to Tara and to Rob.
And did you review it? Yeah.
That's pretty much what she's given, the exact presentation that we received.
And I know that Bison Range, I thought, had its own photography.
They do. And so Stephanie and Whisper are actually a part of this project as well. And as well as Marie Trojan. So when they do come in, they will be talking with staff. So that's when she's explaining staff. They're ready, they're gonna go ahead with this project as well. This is just brought up to us and we wanted to present it to get approval for media. So it has been proposed.
And to address your question, Carol, for videography, the request that she has made has been developing, and I did see what was submitted to council, and it didn't have the detail that we were shared, but verbally, she's asking for permission to film along Highway 93 in those 3 turnoff areas, and I know those are areas that council has approved in the past for B-roll and filming. We need to establish a location on the river, and I think there's a disconnect between our feedback and her description as to Nine Pipe, because that was their original proposal of a chef ranch, and I said, that's probably not going to reflect the tribes. And I've been working with Whisper in assigning a biologist who could accompany or suggest a location, but trying to communicate that we need to be very specific in what we ask to be filmed and videotaped. And this is someone who doesn't live here, isn't very familiar with the communities. So it's been we put forward in front of council as much as we could that is specific, but we do not have specifics on the river and wildlife watching as it's being described. I don't know if Nine Pipe would be the ideal area. I did attempt to bring Whisper in, but she's juggling dozens and dozens of activities and was unable to break away and suggest the areas. We did focus it a little on, it could be either on the grizzly, it could be on the trumpeter swan, and then habitat supporting each of those, but we didn't get that far in the development, so.
I appreciate you giving me the rest of the story because I think that's important, but making sure that, what she's out there doing is that it's our words saying, telling them, what the issues are or what we're doing as a tribe rather than her guessing, not that journalists guess, but you know what I mean. Thank you.
As also to add to that, as part of the process, we indicated that in the past, when video work was done, council had a provision of requesting to review the material and okaying it at that point. And that was kind of a sticking point of, there was a hope on the other side that that requirement wouldn't be needed. And I think we pointed out, no, I think that probably will be something council would be most comfortable with. So they have deadline considerations and have a process of asking for more time, but they have to go through a formal process on their side. So their consideration is trying to get this done to meet deadlines for their contracts. And that's where we are in the process. So,
Martin, go ahead.
Will this be interviewing individuals? And if so, wouldn't we need to do like the IRB for that? At least our internal one with Matea Grant. All B-roll in animals.
IRB was involved in the early discussion, but that is the path of academic research. This is a different animal than that. This is, a media outlet. reflecting us publicly. And to more directly answer your question, Whisper, if this goes well and as envisioned, and admittedly it's not fully formed at this point, Whisper would appoint a biologist who would agree to talk on camera to interpret and explain information about a particular animal species, habitat, tribal viewpoint on it, work that's been done, that whole kind of A to Z treatment on it. So known people who have the skills to communicate it, the tribal values and the work that's been done.
If I may, I still think it'd be good to loop in Matea Grant. I mean, that's her new job. She's with legal department now, I believe.
Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity where we can, direct visitors to places we want them to go. And so that's of course, Rachel, that's a limiting factor. So definitely, when we talk about sites, it's got to be those facilities that are built for, a lot of folks coming to it. So the bison range actually is perfect, watchable wildlife. There's a built environment at Nine Pipe Reservoir for that. So that's a combination of management between the Fish and Wildlife Service and the tribes. Of course, Flathead Lake can absorb massive amount of recreational use. And so there's obviously those vista points are really good. I just have some concerns about the river. And I don't know if I'd want to promote the Flathead River at this point in time in any way, shape, or form. It's beautiful. We can't hide it. Drive Highway 200 is one of the drop dead gorgeous drives in Montana. But to send more people to the any reach of that river from the dam downstream is probably not in our best interest right at this point in time. So I would be concerned about that. But all the other sites are great, at least as you mentioned. Definitely. I'm not sure about the Institutional Review Board. It's not a study. I guess I'm not sure if that's needed, Martin, but this is a different thing completely. But
Go ahead, Rob.
I wanted to add a little more context that might help. In the past, the State Department of Commerce has done similar projects. They have a allocated fund which they apply. And in the past, there have been films that were shot with the help of the People Center, Maria Tarosian and staff that are still up online. And the intended purpose is to help tourism in Indian country. And then we are asked to help shape that so that we steer the effort to what we prefer. So this is different, this case, because the new element is bringing in more or less a journalism operation that is more accustomed to operating under their value system and under what they are drawn to and what serves their readers best, which might not always agree with our values. Obviously, in media relations, we do a lot of communicating back and forth to try to keep them, but it's a free country and there's a free press and media can do what they like. But in this case, they're under contract with the state serving the tourism interest of the tribes. So I know you're fully well aware of that, but I just wanted to highlight that we get to determine the best ways to serve the tourism interests of our tribe.
Any other thoughts? Gonna support this?
I think you need to get us some more anglers out there to catch those lake trout, Rachel. That'd be good.
MAC Days, we didn't talk about MAC Days. That is a huge event.
It is. That's the biggest fishing event in the entire state.
To see Claire, if you said you're okay with this, I wasn't sure if that also included the Nine Pipe.
Oh yeah, Nine Pipe's fine.
Nine Pipe's fine.
Well, because it's a public access already. We're not constraining the visitation of the wildlife refuge itself, other than the fishing access.
Good to hear. I was a little at questions because it's managed
It's
by the
still a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service resource.
Yeah,
on our property.
Is that a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Tom, second by Jennifer to move forward with the media access to produce whatever this is.
Clarifying points, Mr. Chairman. As for working with biologists and other locations, I heard the message, river, no.
Yeah.
If there's other wilderness areas, maybe something pertaining to trumpet or swan or something like that, which is in Nine Pipe area or another species in Nine Pipe, that would be acceptable. That's covered in the okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. I'm sorry.
And grizzly bears.
And grizzly bears, absolutely.
They're all over Nine Pipe.
They will, they intend to have bear spray with them at all times, so maybe they can protect me.
All in favor? 4, 6, unanimous. Thank you, Rachel. Have a good day.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Rachel.
much. I hope to see you all soon.
We'll be here. Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, tribal council members, chairman.
Thank you, Tara and Rob. With that, you want executive, don't you, Dan? We'll go out of regular into executive. Right now. In regular. Motion by Carol to go forward with John Carter's contract and resolution, second by Martin. All in favor? We got a unanimous? That was your only action item. We will go out of regular back into executive. Martin. Martin, you wanted to say something? Okay. Okay. Well, that's our agenda. Thank you. Che hoy.
You guys serve by the time.